Let's talk about the 7'3" demigod that's soon to enter into the NBA, Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama is between the heights of 7'2" and 7'5". It's really undetermined. We don't have an official measurement yet, but he has a 7'8" wingspan, which is one of the biggest wingspans in NBA history. That wingspan would place him into the 9th longest wingspan in NBA history. And the thing that makes Victor Wembanyama so special is all his God-given talent. He's not just your average big man that back to the basket, turn around. He's one of these newer generation big men. He's more similar to a Chet Holmgren type player. He's a player that can have his back to the basket and he has that turnaround jump shot. He has a great handle for his size. He can block shots at a very great rate and he can shoot from 3. So this is the archetype player that the NBA is kind of shifting to now. And people are talking about him being the best prospect ever. And today we're going to be talking about something that I like to call the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. All these lower bottom teams that aren't going to contend or win a championship are tanking for Victor Wembanyama because he's a generational talent. And in today's video, I want to review the teams I would like to see Victor Wembanyama go to based off of fit, players on that team that I think just play great with Victor Wembanyama, or a team that would be great at developing Victor Wembanyama. So now with that being said, let's get into the teams. The first team I want Victor Wembanyama to go to the most is the Detroit Pistons. I want him to go to Detroit because they have a great young core with players like Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, and they need a solidified big man on that team. But what's perfect with this team is people were talking about Victor Wembanyama playing the 4 because he's super skinny, and they think he's going to get bullied by players like Giannis, Joel Embiid, and Jokic in the post. So their philosophy is to move him to the power forward position and have an actual center. That will work on this team because they have players like Jalen Duren, who's a promising big man, other more veteran type big men like Marvin Bagley, Isaiah Stewart, and now recently acquired from the Golden State Warriors, James Wiseman. And I believe if they could develop James Wiseman and Victor Wembanyama, they could have a deadly front court with the two of those players. They both hopefully would be able to stretch out the floor and provide great help defense with each other. I think that'd be great for the team. And this team's built interestingly because they have more veteran players with Bojan Bogdanovic, who's a great small forward for this team, and he gets just straight buckets. They have Killian Haynes, who's a great guard for them to come off the bench. Alex Burke, he's a great player to stretch the floor for this team. I just think that they have the veteran talent to help all these younger players develop and get their minutes in. And I personally believe Jaden Ivey is going to be a very special player. He's showing a lot of promise in his first year, and I'd love to see the pairing of him, Cade, and Victor Wembanyama all together to develop for this future. Now let's move to Texas. I would love to see the San Antonio Spurs pick up Victor Wembanyama because I know if they get Victor Wembanyama, he's going to develop to be the best that he can be because Greg Popovich is great at getting that talent out of these players. And also, they kind of have that connection because the Spurs are an organization that always deals with foreign-type players, so it would kind of work out. They're used to it already. Plus, this is a team that has a lot of interesting players. They have players like Trey Jones, who's just great for that team, and he's going to be a good point guard for their future. Devin Vassell, who's a great spot-up shooter. He's a 3-and-D player. I feel like he just fit perfectly around Victor Wembanyama because he could just do whatever. Jeremy Sohan is a very interesting player that they just got last year. He's showing a lot of promise to that team. And one of my favorite players on the team, Keldon Johnson, who would probably be the second best player on this team if they added Victor Wembanyama. And I just think that young core could build perfectly around Victor Wembanyama. On top of the Spurs could get the best out of Victor Wembanyama. Now let's move to the other team in Texas, the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets would be an interesting team for Victor Wembanyama to go to because they have a bunch of young talent. But a lot of people don't want him to go to Houston because they're not developing their current young talent. They have players that could be stars in Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, and Jabari Smith Jr. But none of them have been breakout. They've kind of just been stagnant. But I personally think that it'd be perfect for him to go to the team because Victor Wembanyama just fits with this team. Think about it. The Houston Rockets recently have been in the news with James Harden potentially coming back to their team, and I think that would set them up perfectly. You have at point guard James Harden, shooting guard Jalen Green. You put Jabari to the small forward position, and then you could decide to put Sengun at power forward and Wemby at center. That's a perfect and up-and-coming team. Sengun is a great passer for this team, so he can set up the offense when need to be in the post. Jalen Green is a phenomenal scorer. We know how great of a passer James Harden already is. Jabari Smith is a spot-up three-point shooter. And we don't have to worry about defense because, again, Jabari is a great defender. Wembanyama is a great shot blocker. So I feel like that lineup would be perfect. And developing in the future, that team, the chemistry just feels like it'd be amazing. And Jalen Green and Victor Wembanyama scoring-wise is unstoppable. Another team I wouldn't mind seeing him go to is the Charlotte Hornets. And it's because they have players like LaMelo Ball who can facilitate and give it to him in the paint and, just give him his offense, let him cook. But they're kind of worrying me because they don't really have a direct direction because they haven't really started their rebuild with LaMelo. But they also haven't had good enough talent to really make the playoffs. So if Victor Wembanyama, he comes out swinging, he is what he's supposed to be off the rip, I think that they could really push for contention in this upcoming season. So I kind of think that's perfect for this team. And like I said, they already have great vets on this team to help. And potentially could bring back Miles Bridges, who's a great small forward for that team to play offense. I think offensively, this would be a fun team to watch. And Victor Wembanyama, he'd give them that big man that they've always been looking for. And if potentially he didn't want to play the center, he could play the power forward because they have a young big man in Mark Williams, so they could play at the center position. And he's mainly a defensive big man, so that's perfect for this team. And let me add, the Hornets need to be prime on their knees every day to get Victor Wembanyama because if not, LaMelo is out of here. I give it 2 more seasons max before bro asks for a trade if they keep messing up every single year. Now, the last team in one of the best situations that he could go to is Portland. And I believe this is because they're kind of a franchise that's going on a downward spiral because Damian Lillard's trying to stay with the team, but he also wants them to contend, but the team isn't putting him in contention. And they're kind of in the middle ground right now. But I think, like I said earlier, if Victor Wembanyama comes out and he is what he's supposed to be, this team will be perfect for him. He'll be able to go under Damian Lillard's wing, be his little rookie. And that team will have an interesting team of Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, him. And then the team really needs to move to a different type of center because Jusuf Nurkic is always hurt. So they could potentially get Nurk off the team. And this team, they still have a lot of their future. They have a lot of their picks that they haven't given up. So if they wanted to, they could go out and get somebody else to pair with this team so that they can really contend. And this team needs this because I think soon they're going to have to come to the decision like, are we going to keep Dame so he's a 4-lifer in Portland? Or are we going to start a rebuild and trade? Well, if you get this, you're kind of on a better path to do that. And I think this team is just built perfectly for him. They have great defense like Jeremy Grant, players like that. Shaedon Sharpe could potentially develop to be a star in this league. Anthony Simons is on that trajectory to be an all-star possibly type player, what I like to call 50-50 all-star, where he might potentially make him off a great year. But Damian Lillard's on his way out, and Portland needs to make a decision. So if they got Victor Wembanyama, I just think that'd be perfect for this team. But that's just what I think. Put your 2 cents in the comments below. Sphinx, out.